You're speaking of group consciousness, like ants and bees?
Yes, but there are countless species that have this capacity and exercise it.
If humans have sealed this gateway, there must be a reason.
It is the act of polluting the genetic mind that has kept this gateway sealed.
Polluting the genetic mind.
Thoughts are the only real form of pollution to the human species. Beyond purely instinctual expression, thoughts assemble language and language assembles behavior. This behavior can be destructive to the genetic mind of the species and can place severe limitations on its capacity to discern the soul from the soul carrier.
So humans learn to identify with the soul carrier and not the soul?
Yes.
And who seals the gateway?
Humans. Subconsciously they know it is in their best interest to close this doorway in order to prevent irreversible damage to the genetic mind. Intuitively they know that a time will come when it will be reopened and the interface zone will once again be accessible to humanity.
And how will it be unsealed?
There are select individuals who will open this gateway for the purpose of transforming the genetic mind of the species. These individuals embody what is to come relative to the human species. In a sense, they are time travelers who bring the future of human capacities to the present day. They transmit the future vision first, and then the tools to activate others.
I still don't feel I understand the purpose of all this.
It is largely through the activation of the DNA network that humankind will discover the grand portal, because access to the genetic mind is essential to this discovery, as is the extrasensory communication between those destined to assemble the discovery's component parts and piece together the sevenfold puzzle.
How does one gain access to the interface zone?
Do you want to know how to access it before you understand the effect this access will have on you?
Again, my impatience gets the best of me. I am interested in understanding what this access will mean to me. Please explain.
The interface zone is the access point to activating the group consciousness of humanity. If humanity can operate as a collective consciousness, while its members remain anchored in the fullness of their individuality, humanity will be able to rebalance the Earth and operate as co-creators of the new Earth with influence that would extend to galactic levels.
How? How does this all happen?
The interface zone is an important component of the grand portal discovery, and it will become known as the connecting element of the human species that unifies its genetic mind, and in this unification, unleashes its power and capability to create solutions to the natural challenges of planetary life.
How does this relate to an individual like me?
In choosing to consciously access the interface zone, you tap into the genetic mind with greater clarity. This results in more vivid thought processes and enhanced intuition. It also improves extrasensory perceptions that enable remote healing and remote communication.
What about the communication into the genetic mind? You mentioned that the doorway opens in both directions.
This is a far more sensitive disclosure, and one that I will not make until you have advanced further in your training. I think we can begin with the receptive mode before we investigate the transmit mode.
How do I move into the receptive mode?
It is through natural language. As I said, the interface zone operates within the constructs of language since it contains all language archetypes.
Then what words do I speak?
First, language is not necessarily constructed of words. It can be visual and it can be musical as well, consisting of tempo, frequency, modulation, etc.
Which is more effective?
The most effective is to begin with a clear conceptual picture of the interface zone and how it can be activated to be more receptive as a carrier wave of the genetic mind.
How do I do this?
Remember how I said the DNA could spontaneously configure wormhole-like structures?
Yes.
These structures are extrasensory, and do not conform to three-dimensional constructs of space-time. They rise and fall in their configurations in spontaneous reaction to a variety of stimuli.
Like affirmations and mantras?
Yes. They are like programming pods, in one sense, because the individual can reprogram their cellular DNA in such a way that it enhances their intuition or access to the genetic mind.
How is this done precisely?
The imagery of the wormhole structure. Its impermanence and spontaneity. The manner in which this occurs outside of three-dimensional space-time structures. The way in which the energy exchange is reciprocal. And the image of DNA is an interspecies network. All of these elements enhance your picture of the process.
I have a conceptual picture of this, but it's by no means clear.
You cannot have a clear mental picture of something that operates outside of space-time structures. However, if you compare the picture you have now with the one you had 10 minutes ago, it is infinitely more precise. Wouldn't you agree?
I suppose, since I didn't have any picture before.
Exactly.
This conceptual picture, vague as it is sufficient for me to begin?
No. You need to picture it in your mind's eye and contemplate the wondrous mechanics of this process. How the DNA is like tendrils of an enormously complex organism that energetically lives outside of the human body, but also has three-dimensional counterparts that communicate, store, and process information that reside mostly in the intuitive structure of the body-heart-mind system.
But is there some specific word or sound I need to make in order to activate or enhance my reception of the genetic mind? A port or connection?
And software.
Yes, an interface of some kind.
And you need a password.
Sometimes.
And why is a password required in some instances?
Because the information is confidential or only meant to be accessible to certain individuals.